What's up, everybody? We have one of my favorite clients who's been with us for a very, very, very long time, Dennis from Memphis. What's up, man? How you doing?
How are you, buddy? Good to be on with you.
Thank you for doing this. Now, you've been our client. I don't know the exact day, but I think it's been how long? Do you have an idea?
I think it's been 5 years. I don't know if that's right.
I
Um,
think that sounds about right.
yeah,
Yeah, near when we launched like you probably were with us since we in our first or second year of
yep,
business.
yeah. It was very
Um,
early on.
Yeah. So you've been one of our most loyal customers and you've been having a lot of success. So yeah, I'd love to have you on and just talk a little bit about it. Your business is unique in a few ways and I want to touch on it. But first let's do like the quick intro, rapid fire. You're in Memphis, Tennessee. What does your business look like in terms of revenue and your team and are you flipping, wholesaling, etc.?
Yeah, good question. So the team is actually very, very small. Myself, I've got one acquisitions agent that does acquisitions and dispositions, and then one assistant, and that's it. So we're a very small team, 3 people total, including myself, and then my wife handles the retail side. So if leads come in that I can't either flip, put in my rental portfolio, or wholesale, then we'll pass that lead over to her, and she'll convert that over into a retail listing because she's a licensed agent. So business looks like on average we do around 60 deals a year. That's kind of our sweet spot since 2023 ish. We've done about 60 deals a year, and I like to stay only in my market, so I don't do anything nationally or anything like that. We're only in our local Memphis, Tennessee market. Well, Memphis and the few surrounding counties around us, because Memphis is one of those places where you have a lot of other states that border. I own rental properties as well. We've got about 30 rental properties, and the cool thing about that is they're all paid for except for like two of them, except for three of them. And so our
That's
rental
awesome.
portfolio spits off, a very good amount of cash flow. And numbers wise, we're doing roughly 1.2 to 1.4 million a year. And that's not including the retail side, that's the investing side. That's flips and assignments. Um, and that's kind of it on a, really, 30,000 foot overview level of it.
Of the 60 deals, rough percentage of how many are flips versus wholesales?
Great question. I would say probably 60, 60% of those, 60 to 70% are wholesale, and the rest are flips. And then, well, let's break it down more granular. I would say I pick up about 5 or 6 rentals a year. So I would say about 10% of my business is rentals, and then probably an additional 30% is flips. So then, yeah, it's about a 60-40 split between wholesale 60%, and then the other 40% is flips and rental properties.
Okay, awesome. Let's dive into it. I got a lot of questions
For
here.
sure.
So, um, that's awesome. Doing over $1 million a year. We have a lot of clients with a similar size business, and they're happy with it. Like they're not even trying to
Yeah.
grow
Yeah, I'm
necessarily.
not trying to
Like
grow either. Yep, that's exactly
yeah,
right.
yeah. You don't need to grow for the sake of growing, and we'll touch on some of your vision and your intention, which I really respect. But I'm a nerd for the data as well.
For sure.
So, of the $1 million, can you break down as best you can? I don't know if you have this data in front of you, but like of your flips, average profit per deal, of your wholesales, average profit per deal, and like the kind of revenue makeup between them.
I'll just give you a rough idea. So if I'm looking at because 2024 is a completed year, I'll just kind of spit some numbers off for you. So just on an assignment fee basis, uh, I would say probably if you average those up, because there's a few big ones in there, like there's a 53 in there, there's a 64 in there, a 44, 37. But there's a lot of little ones too, 5,000, 5,000, 4,500. So I don't know if I would average our assignment fees up, I'm gonna say probably 17,000, something like that on an assignment. Um,
Yep.
and then on flip, This one is, let's see, this one's a 66,000. This one's an 86,000. This one is a 54,000. This one is a 36,000. This one's a 49,000. So on our flips, a little bit bigger than our assignments. Um,
58,
okay,
58 right
okay,
there.
gotcha.
58.
Okay. So that's just grabbing a handful off the list there for 2024. And, 2025 it looks about the same. Um, yeah, I mean, it's pretty fair across the board. That's kind of what our numbers look like.
Yeah, that tracks pretty well. We surveyed all our clients to get averages across the country. Wholesale average is about 25, but bigger swings. Kind
Sure.
of like you said, there's six-figure ones and there's a lot of small ones.
Yeah.
Flips average 56. So you're right. You're right in line
Okay.
with that. Okay, awesome. So of your deals, so 60 deals that come in, what does your marketing mix look like? What channels are you doing? Deals kind of roughly percentage from each channel.
Okay. So, um, this is what, and some of my data is not showing up. I don't know why it didn't populate, but I'll give you an idea of some of these for 2024. So, TV ad, TV ad, TV ad, uh, PPC, TV ad, pay per lead, TV ad, PPC, 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 SEO, repeat client, pay per lead, SEO, pay per lead, PPC, PPC, referral, PPC, PPC.
It seems like PPC might be your number one,
Yeah, yeah.
or at least that with. Do you have the specific like percentages? Do you know
I
those?
don't. I
Of
don't have them. I don't have the percentages in front of me because again, for some reason, my on my sheet, my data's not populating. I'm looking at my screen here, and
it's all good.
yeah, but across the board, I would say that PPC is probably our top performer, and then right below that, I would say it's pay per lead and TV kind of neck and neck.
Gotcha. Awesome. Let's dive into a little bit about your sales process here. So we've seen a lot. Our most successful clients have been with us the longest. Very intentional about their sales process. You said you have a disposition manager. Can you just walk us through what it looks like when a lead comes in? What happens to the lead? Who gets notified? Are you tracking when they need to call them back? Like,
Yeah.
what does that look like, and how do you like what kind of metrics are you looking at to get for that?
Yeah, so for me, the most important thing when we get a lead notification in, um, we have a 5 minute speed to lead time that is our target, meaning that when a lead comes in, we've got 5 minutes to get on the phone and call that lead. So we do that because I feel like, especially with the way that these leads are driven, if they're PPC, SEO, or pay per lead type of lead, any of those means that they're filling out something online. And the great thing about online is for the client is that they can fill out a bunch of these forms with a bunch of different investors. And so our goal is to call them as quickly as they come in. Kind of look at it like uh, the food when it's hot tastes amazing, but when the food cools down and it's kind of like lukewarm or the plate's gone cold, it's not nearly as tasty or yummy anymore. And so with a lead, a client is kind of they're in a very specific mental state whenever they are filling out these forms. They're like, I need to get rid of this house. I'm tired of dealing with whatever the issue is. And you want to catch them still in that moment because if they've, had a day or two to think about it or whatever, they may have already had another investor reach out to them. They may have thought, let's call a real estate agent, or they might have said, you know what, man, my house is dirty. I don't feel comfortable with people being here. Like I'm a little bit embarrassed or that sort of thing. And they'll kind of talk themselves
Right.
out of it. And so our main thing is call the lead as soon as it comes in. First thing. Second thing, be very personable, non-judgmental, and just as compassionate and understanding as you possibly can be. We actually take a very different approach than I guess a lot of folks do. Um, we're not really so much about following a certain script. Like, yes, we have certain parameters that we want to hit on every phone call, to make sure that it's a good call. But I guess the main thing is, to be honest with you, we're really trying to feel out the situation and find out if we're even a good fit for the client. Because the reality for us is, the cool thing is we're not trying to convince people to use us and convince people to let us buy the house. Our goal is to talk to them, find out if we feel like we're going to be a good fit, and then we'll qualify the property and make sure the property is a good fit for us. And then if those things align, then we want to get to the appointment as quickly as possible. Even if we don't feel like numbers align, we want to get on the appointment, meet the person face to face, and just have a genuine conversation with them. We personally find that the fall off rate is about double whenever you're just doing only phone sales versus when you're actually going and meeting the client face to face. So we kind of, again, we're in our own backyard. We're not doing campaigns that are nationwide. So we have that ability to go meet with people. And so we really like to utilize that. And
So
then,
you mean fall off rate is like the contract falling apart? So
yes,
when you don't meet with the seller, it's twice as likely to fall apart than if you built rapport with them
that's
in
right.
person.
Because there's no personal connection,
Interesting.
right? Because
Right.
like what will happen is what we found is if we just contracted over the phone and we never go out and personally touch that client, we don't build a good relationship with them. They can't see us face to face. They don't understand who we are and our personality. They don't see how much we care about their situation. At that point, there's a very big disassociation in their mind. So if another investor calls them and says, "Hey, I'll give you a couple $1,000s more," they're totally okay breaking that contract and potentially facing legal issues because there's nothing personal to it. It's just like we might as well be a robot, or a form that they filled out and that's it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's what I mean, that attrition rate is just a lot higher if there's not a face-to-face appointment. And look, I know a lot of people that do phenomenal doing it virtually, and they have great businesses. So I'm not knocking that. It's just the cool thing about real estate is you don't have to follow what somebody else's sales protocol is to generate a lot of revenue and have a lot of clients. You got to stick with what feels good to you and what your business model aligns with. And man, we're just hyper personal, and so that for us means a lot. And so yeah, we want to meet with that client face to face, build a rapport with them, and interestingly enough, I mean, I just had one that closed this month where a competitor offered them $5,000 more than us, but the client still wanted to go with us because of the personal experience we offered. Um, there's something to be said about that when a client tells you personally, like, "Hey, I am going with you guys, even though they offered me more money, because I really feel like y'all are going to take care of us. And I feel like the other people were really just in it to turn a profit." Um, because you're dealing with people's homes, and a lot of times those homes have emotional attachments to them. So they just want to know that people are going to care enough to do the right thing. And interestingly enough, on that client personally, she called me. A storm had hit, and lightning hit the tree in the front yard. I had my tree, and we were still in escrow. I didn't close on the house yet, but while we were in escrow, instead of working a price reduction because the tree got struck by lightning in the front yard, and my guys were going to have to do that cleanup after, I spent a couple $1,000s out of my pocket in escrow, sent my tree guy out there before closing, and had that tree taken care of. And she was just like, "Dennis, thank you so much, because we couldn't handle the stress right now of dealing with all that, and we really needed to, be able to have this closing go through." And so it's just stuff like that, man, that you know we want to set ourselves apart by really caring for folks.
Is that the decision to do that? Is that I'm just trying to think about it from like a managing the business perspective.
Sure.
And to some extent, you can't scale that. You can't put that in a
Right.
process, like just caring about somebody. But to an extent, you can, and is that like that type of decision? Is that something like, are you reviewing, because you have an acquisitions person, like, are you reviewing this transcript, or does your salesperson have the authority to do that?
Yes. Yeah.
How,
Great question. So Bob will call me on if there's any deal that looks like it's going to go to contract, he calls me and we work through the details, every single deal. And the reason
got
why
it.
we do
Okay.
that is because I'm actually purchasing a lot of these properties with my own capital, not hard money loans, not anything like that. So, um, again, and again, this just works better for my business model. I like to have access to my people, and I want my people to have access to me. So my team knows that they can call me at any time. Doesn't matter. And so Bob will call me and say, "Hey, Dennis, here's one looks promising. These are the details. This is what I'm thinking. What do you think?" And then we'll just talk through it. The client that called me, that was I was actually on vacation, and she didn't know I was on vacation, but I still obviously answered my call, and I just told her, look, don't worry about it, because I could tell she was super stressed, and it was a big sticking point for us. I said, don't worry about it. I'll call my tree guy. I'll get it taken care of. Called my tree guy. He was out there within an hour, got it done. So, that's not something really that is, um, you can't really delegate that to a team member to make that decision. But my team knows that we're people oriented first, and so we're wanting to make sure that if there's something we can do to help out, like Bob just had a deal that we closed, and he said, Dennis, look, here's the situation. This guy is living without electricity in the house. He helps his local community, but he's just in a really tough spot. I'd like to offer him an extra 5 grand. I know we don't have to do that, but I'd like to do that. I was like, cool, let's do it. So, it's just one of those things, man, because we were making enough money on the deal. I think we might have made
Yeah.
10 grand on it or something like that. And so that extra 5 grand, the seller needed that way more than we did. And so even our team knows that um, they they have the ability to come to me and say, hey, like, I really feel like we need to do something to help this person out. And, can we do X, Y, Z? And we'll talk about it as a team. So, that's a big part for us.
You mentioned that you're doing TV as well, and we don't have a lot of clients. Excuse me, we don't have a lot of clients doing TV. So brand is obviously important.
Sure.
I think TV and brand are synonymous with each other. How do you go about, like, the story that you told me? In the back of my mind, I'm like, this would be, and it's not the point, but like as a marketer, I'm like, if you met with this guy and he did a video testimonial of like talking through the, like, if you could share some of these stories,
Right.
that's really good for your brand and
hmm
could separate you from other people. So do you intentionally try to incorporate some of the things that you've told me into your brand? Or a kind of more general question, like, how do you go about managing your brand, whether it's on your website, in your ads, or in your sales process?
Yeah, this is a great question. So, we don't, I guess we don't shoot TV commercials and kind of, we haven't used those as talking points because number one, TV commercials are only 30 seconds long, and you have to try to
Yeah.
fit a lot into that 30-second space. But the main thing is, we use those as examples when we talk to our clients, not to brag on us. It's just to say, like, hey, when Susie called us, like, here's what we did for her, because we knew that was the best thing to help in the situation. So, the first thing we let our clients know is we want them to check us out online and look at our reviews. So, if they look at both of our brands, Hometown Investment Group, which is our rental entity, and
Mm-hmm.
Memphis Offer, which is our flip/marketing entity, both of those have 5 stars across the board. And Hometown Investment Group, our parent company is, because Hometown Investment Group, I founded that before Memphis Offer. And so, if they look at our Better Business Bureau reviews, they're all A+, raving reviews. So that's kind of one of the
Boom, we're
big
pulling up.
things. That's kind of one of the big things that we focus on is we want our clients to check us out online. And you can even see what they say whenever you look at the reviews. They'll actually say, how helpful we were in the process. And we don't ask them to say those specific things. They just do it on their own. So, the reviews definitely are a big thing that we tell clients whenever they go to look us up. Interestingly enough, we have 4.9 stars instead of 5 because one house that we bought, there's a lady named Ellen. We bought her house.
Ellen.
Yeah. If you read that review, so they said that we paid a fair price and we closed on time, but she griped about the lock. She couldn't find the lockbox. We had the lockbox on there. She just couldn't find it. And then uh, she was concerned that the lockbox was stolen, and so she called me. I even showed her on video where the lockbox was. She had a hard time. She's an older lady, and she said that
Yeah.
we didn't live up to one special term, and she asked us if when we're doing, it was a hoarder house, big time hoarder house. Like there was stuff from floor to ceiling in this house. It was like um the clean out crew, I think it cost us like $5,000 or $6,000 to get all the junk out of this house. And
Wow.
she said if we found any money, jewelry, or guns, that we need to turn it into her. And I told her, I said, Ellen, there's zero chance that our clean out crew is going to go through all this stuff. They're just going to load all of it up in the dumpster, and that's it. Like we can't like dig
Yeah.
through all this stuff. You're free to do it before we close the escrow, but when we close, we're just getting shovels and bags and we're dumping all the stuff, you know? So I thought that was super interesting how even though we closed on the house, paid a good price for it, she's like, they didn't find my jewelry or my family's jewelry and guns in there, so I got to knock off some stars for them.
That's nothing you can do. I mean, that's a pretty good worst review,
That's a
you
great
know?
worst review. Yeah.
Uh, so, but now while I'm screen sharing a little bit, let's just pull up your website. I mean, this is really well branded here. Any other things that you do in your brand? Just kind of continuing the question, like whether it's TV ads or sales process or sales script. You said you mentioned you have a few examples that you mentioned when you talk to them of like specific things you help maybe with
Mhm.
like the lightning and story and can you just expand on that a little bit because I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, so I guess, when a client calls, the first thing I'm trying to figure out is, are we even going to be able to help them, right? So
Yeah.
the difference, I guess, between us and a lot of the other investors is they can't do anything if the person needs retail. Like let's say their payoff is too high and they can't wholesale the house or they can't
Right.
buy it to flip. Well, my wife is a licensed agent in Tennessee and Mississippi, and she's about to be licensed in Texas as well. And so what we'll do in that is we don't try to push the client towards a cash offer, a sub two, or anything like that. We actually say, hey, look, I really think based on looking at the numbers that you're going to be best suited by listing your house on the market. Uh, Again, it's I think the reason why we win our clients over is because they can see that we're not here to try to line our pockets or something like that. We're just genuinely trying to help them. There's so many clients that we just tell them, hey, I'm sorry, but I really don't think we're even going to be the best fit for you. I think you really need to maybe try to do a refinance on your house or
Sure.
a HELOC or whatever. So um, I just think being personal, man, like it really is a big deal to people, and they can see when, because a lot of the folks will call multiple investment companies, and when they just got off the phone with somebody that's like a sales shark, and they can tell they're reading the script and they're hitting with all these objection rebuttals and
Right.
all this, it's, I don't know, man, it's a big difference when they call us because we're just like, hey, we're here for you, we got your back. They know there's no sales pitch and scripting and high pressure or anything. um, we just try to come alongside them and help, man. So I guess that's what makes it a little bit different for us. That's why it's called Hometown Investment Group. It's a very hometown feel when they call us. We're the people next door, not the big conglomerate company that's trying to come in there and scoop in and eat up all their equity.
Are there things that you do on the appointment as well? Not necessarily that you do like that you personally track to make sure it gets done on every type of acquisition appointments to know that you're living up to your brand and providing the experience you want to with clients.
Yeah, this is going to be a not politically correct answer at all, and I don't recommend people. I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this is supposed to be used as a sales tactic because it's not. But there is one checkbox that we have with all of our clients, and that's we really try to share the love of Jesus with every client first and foremost because like my investing business is I kind of okay, I look at it like this. You know how back in the 1930s, like you would walk into the butcher shop, but that butcher shop was just like a front because they had like some kind of nefarious business behind,
Yeah.
the door or whatever. All right, so like to me, my real estate business is the front company, and the real thing that I'm trying to do is like win people over by the love of Jesus. That's what I'm really trying to do, right? And so
Mm.
like the checkbox that I have to check off, because it's not about business, it's about trying to share the love of Jesus when I meet with people. That's the first checkbox that we have to hit, because it's only a successful appointment if I've been able to do that, regardless if we win the client's business or not. That's the first thing. But going back to a business perspective, the main thing that we're looking at is, A, did we understand why the client is selling the house? B, were we able to steer them in the right direction, whether it's us helping them or like maybe we connect them with a lender or a bank or somebody that, that can help refinance or whatever. Did we do a good job of helping them understand our value proposition of, like, they called us out there, here's what we can offer you, whether we buy your house outright, whether we purchase your house subject to the existing mortgage, maybe we help you by listing it on the market. And so did we explain that really well? And did we help them see our reviews and help them understand our credibility and our, how many years we've been in business and that sort of thing? And then, of course, did we get really good photos and walkthrough videos of the house, because we want to be able to evaluate
Right.
the property. That's the
Gotcha.
main thing that we're looking for on each appointment.
Gotcha. Fun fact, my dad's a former pastor.
Oh,
I'm a
that's cool.
pastor's child,
Okay. Okay,
actually.
gotcha.
Yeah. Presbyterian. We're Presbyterian. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Fun
Look, man,
fact there. Yeah.
I know that that's not everybody's cup of tea, man, but here's the cool thing
Sure.
about it.
Yeah.
I might turn somebody off by sharing my love of Jesus with them whenever I'm at the house with them, and that's okay. That is totally okay, because um, I'm not there to just talk about real estate. That real estate is just an opportunity for me to help them out of their situation. But the biggest thing for us is, like, we know that people are hurting out here, man, and the
Yeah.
love of Jesus is like the best thing that we can share with folks. And so, um, I guess maybe going into the appointment not needing to close the deal, I think
Right.
I think there's so much to be said about not pushing and pressuring somebody to do what you want them to do. Like, if you just show up trying to help, man, we have stories where, like, I've paid. My wife tells me sometimes, Dennis, you're way too kind-hearted, and you help people too much. Not that she's saying, like, be mean to people or anything, but I guess my focus is always just help these people. Do whatever you can. She even says it with my tenants. Like, you let these tenants take advantage of you sometimes. But the reality is, man, like, at the end of the day, when I lay my head on my pillow, I want to know that if I died tonight, that God would tell me, well done. You did
Yeah.
good. You did your absolute best that you could. And if somebody took advantage of me, that's their problem, not mine. You know what I'm saying? Um, it's but ultimately, man, God's really blessed our business phenomenally, and I mean, like, we want for nothing. We do really well. um we could stop working tomorrow, and just the rental income that we have, we could live comfortably for the rest of our lives. Great. So I don't know, man, like, I just don't go to appointments trying to force somebody to do business with us. We're honest
And
with people.
probably
We're not working price reductions. I know
right.
a lot of our competitors will lock up a property at a certain price, knowing that their modus operandi is to come back and say, "Oh,
Right.
inspections, came up, and we're going to have to be a lot lower on price." We just don't do that. When we give somebody a price, I can count on one hand the number of price reductions we've ever had to do in 9 years of doing this, and those were all legitimate, and we showed the clients, like, the inspections, like what came up on it and that sort of thing. Um, we just, man, out of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of homes closed, we just don't work price reductions. That's another big thing for us.
I think a big takeaway for people watching this, and the main audience, I think, for this interview here is not beginners, but like investors who are probably doing a deal a month, a few deals a month, maybe a step or two below where you're at, or maybe near where you're at. And I think one of the big takeaways for me is, like, a common theme that I've seen among all real estate investors is they have some way in their brand and sales process that stand out.
Yeah,
Now, obviously, not everything is religious, right? People have
sure,
different ways to
of
do it, but,
course.
like, it's the values of the company, and that
Yeah,
just happens to be one of the values of the company. And,
yeah,
like, when you can, because PPC, especially with PPC and any marketing channel these days, but especially PPC, it's very competitive. So, like, I think you not even trying to push things so hard probably ironically helps you get more
of
business,
course
because
it
I
does.
think it's your brand, it's the way you come across. And I know you mentioned to me before the call, like your family comes on the appointments with you sometimes. Like those things make a difference.
Yeah,
And for anyone listening to this who is getting some deals and maybe just inconsistent, I think putting energy into your brand, into having an identity and incorporating that like intentionally into a specific process can go a long way to help closing more leads.
absolutely.
So
Yeah, and I would say
awesome,
the big
awesome.
thing I would add to that is people shouldn't be scared to find out who they are and incorporate that into their business, because a lot of times we'll see maybe some big guru out there says you have to do your sales process like this and you have to say this and you have to be this. And so a lot of people are trying to be disingenuous to who they are. And so when they're going
Right.
on their appointments, they there's an identity crisis going on in their mind because they sound like this other investment company that they heard doing business, but that's not true to who they are, right? And so early on, I just decided, look, man, I'm not going to try to compete with all the other guys and gals that are in the marketplace. I'm just going to do my best on the appointment to love on this person and fix their situation. And that's what we're going to do. That is our value proposition, and not being this sharky sign here type of salesperson. Because I don't want to take advantage of anybody. I want to be able to be a help to somebody. And so that would be my encouragement, is for people that are maybe not doing a ton of deals. It's okay, just be yourself, go on the appointment. Yes, you want to know your numbers. You need to look at your comps. You need to understand how to value a property. You need to understand how to do renovation costs, because if you don't, and you're locking properties up way too high just to come back and say, hey, I'm sorry, we can't
Right.
make that price work, then you're not doing the seller a favor at all. You're actually hurting everybody in that position. But you don't have to mirror what the next guy is doing in order for you to find your own success.
Agree. I think you should intentionally try not to mirror people
Sure,
to some extent,
absolutely.
and being able to tell what is the fundamentals that you need to do versus the things that you don't need to do, and you can carve yourself. That takes experience, and
Absolutely.
you've been doing it a while. Um, I really want to touch on your vision, and then some PPC stuff, and then we'll wrap it up here. If that's
Sure.
cool.
Yep.
So obviously you run the company, you have a small team. We have a lot of investors and just even friends I have and other people. They have a successful business. Maybe they're doing similar revenue to you, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but they're stressed. Like
Yep.
it's a grind, right?
Yep.
And as you get to a point in this business, when I think it's a lot of the leads that we talk to that give us a call, they're like, they know how to close deals. Like they know the process. They've been doing direct mail or cold calling, and they're just tired.
Hmm.
They're just tired.
Yep.
Been doing it a long time.
Yep.
Angry voicemails, cold calling, swapping numbers, and and that was me. That was me a long time ago too. You don't seem to have that issue, maybe at the same scale that a lot of these people that we talk to have. So my question is, how is that possible? Like what are you doing in your business right now? How many hours are you working? Because I think a lot of the assumption is like as you grow, or the harsh reality is as you grow, oftentimes maybe you hit your revenue goals. And we all started this business because we read Rich Dad Poor Dad and we want financial freedom and this
Sure.
and that. And then you realize like, oh, I'm running a business. It's actually more stressful.
Yeah.
Like the stress
Yeah.
goes up over time. It's like the biggest joke
Yeah.
in business, in real estate, that you and I and it's people suffer. It's
Yeah.
difficult.
It's
So
it is
how have you
difficult,
managed
man.
that?
So I'll tell you this. I found out very early on that my wife and my kids suffer from me working too hard. Like when my wife and I first got married, she was like, Dennis, you're working way too much. Because I didn't turn it off. And most of us can't turn it off because if you're a business owner and you're very detail oriented, um, you know that you have to, everything has to be exact. Everything has to be perfect. And so I was getting burned out. In the insurance business, I got very burned out. And I'm so glad that God helped me make that transition from insurance over to real estate. But the big thing that I found out, I guess a big key to not getting burned out, because I was in that place, is you got to be able to get to a place where you are enjoying your business, that it serves you, and that you don't become a slave to the business. Scaling was not sexy for me. at all. And I think too many times people see these gurus and stuff, and they always talk about scale your business, grow a big team, and do all this. And man, that for me gave me massive anxiety because, again, it wasn't true to who I was. I am totally okay not having this big team. Like, I'm okay having a 3-person team doing the numbers that we're doing because we make a phenomenal income doing that. Would it be great to make more money? Yes, but I don't want the stress that comes along with onboarding more people and having more people report to me and all these kinds of things, right? So my business serves me in the sense that it's a size that I like. Um, I can I can delegate stuff still. I still have enough of a say in my business to where if I want things to be done a certain way that, I don't have to go through 14 different channels to make that happen. And then the other side is I built the business around my personality and my style. For instance, I found out after a few years, I absolutely hated outbound lead generation. I cannot stand it. Cold calling, texting, I cannot stand that stuff because it's an endless grind. I mean, it is a churn. You cannot stop. You got to make, uh, you know, 100 calls every few hours in order to hit numbers. And it's like, you can only do that for so long until you burn out yourself. And then when you hire people, it's this constant flow of new hires coming in early on. I was just onboarding people. They would stay a few months and then they would be gone because nobody wants to get on the phone and just dial or have the dialer dial for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours. Um, it's just tough, man. So for me, I decided, look, I'm going to do pay per click because that's an inbound lead. Somebody's calling me, I'm not calling them. I'm going to do TV. Somebody sees my advertisement, they're calling me. I'm going to do pay per lead. Again, they fill out a form. And so I'm going to do SEO. So all of the inbound strategies where people are calling me are what I incorporated in my business, and I cut out every outbound strategy that we had. Um, Now we still make follow-up calls, but that's different than cold calling somebody. We're following up with people that raised their hand and said, "Hey, I want you guys to come out and look at our house." So that was one of the big things for me to not be burned out. And then having some people in place, even if it's a small team, the first hire somebody needs to make is a personal assistant, not an acquisitions person. They need to hire a personal assistant because that personal assistant can do all the things, the ancillary stuff, the documents, the paperwork, the filing, organizational, whatever. And then that frees you up to not be stressed when you're on the phone trying to lock up deals. And then once you've got some deals locked up and you can afford it, then hire somebody for acquisitions that can help you. But hiring acquisitions out is a very tricky thing because if you're really good at acquisitions, if you hire somebody that's not really good at acquisitions, your sales numbers are going to suffer. So
That's your whole business.
that's your
Yeah.
whole business, right? So even I still will handle sales calls. If business starts dipping, I'll encourage my acquisitions guy, but I'll also get on the phones myself and I'll start doing the calls, the outbound follow-up stuff, and start locking up contracts because sometimes your team needs a morale boost, and if they can see you get in there and do it, it peps them up. So those are a couple things I would say to not get burned out is A, build your business around you and your lead generation style. Because if you hate doing whatever lead generation style you're doing, you're not going to make the calls, and you're not going to get the contracts. And then secondarily, I would say, um, don't be scared to not have a big ginormous team and just work however it is at whatever pace that you want to work. And then lastly, make sure your mission aligns with your purpose. Your business mission has to align with your purpose in life. And I don't get burned out because I know that when I'm going on appointments, my main goal is to love on somebody and to try to help them out of a tough situation. Because a lot of times, man, these people call and they don't have power in their house. They don't have running water. A tree might have fallen through the house and they don't have the money to fix it, whatever the case may be. So like I kind of look at it like, man, we're a SEAL team trying to fix a specific situation for somebody. So we need to get in there, roll our sleeves up and really help. So
Mm.
I guess the purpose has to be there too, right? If you're just looking at it as dollars and money, eventually you'll make enough money to where the money doesn't motivate you as much anymore.
Right. Right.
Right? I
Probably
mean,
well before where you're at right
that's
now,
right.
probably.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like if you go out and eat a big steak, you're not going to be enticed by the TV commercial that comes on showing you a hamburger. You're going to be like, no, I'm good. I'm
Right.
full. And so at some point, the money just doesn't become the allure factor anymore. And so you got to have something bigger than that as your purpose. And so like my family is my big driver. My God is my big driver. And so like every day I wake up, I push and I drive. Um, and the last thing I would say, man, is like you got to be careful because your health can take a big toll. Stress can take a big effect on your health. I mean, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis just out of the blue.
Mm.
And that's a big, stress is a big factor in that. So that was another thing that helped me take a step back and say, hey, man, like my health is not worth the stress and all this is not worth me losing my health over. So it's time to retool, find out what things are putting too much stress on me, and then back away from those things, delegate those out, find out a way to get those out, and then just focus on our main mission, which is helping folks.
A quote, one of my favorite quotes I heard was that healthy people have a lot of problems. Unhealthy people have one problem, and it's their health.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when your health isn't right, like nothing else really matters.
That's right.
I 100% agree with that. And we see a lot of investors who aren't healthy. And it's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough. And some of these problems are not easy. Like, what is your identity? What's your purpose? Like, these are not easy things to figure
Sure.
out. So I think you're doing right, and you're on the right path here. How many hours would you say you put into the business at
Man,
this
that's a
point?
great question. I'll be honest with you, buddy. That is not something I would even know how to quantify. And the reason why
Yeah.
I say that is because my staff has access to me anytime, but I do make it a point to step away as well and spend time with my family. And so I don't even know, man. Like sometimes I'll just put my phone away. My staff won't have access to me for half the day because
And that's fine.
and that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just need to have that time to unplug and be with my family or whatever. And then some days, man, I'm kind of at it all day, right? But
Right.
I wouldn't even know how to tell you that. I know that I should say, man, 4 hours a week is all I work. But to be honest with you, it's not. That's not
Right.
the model that serves me. I actually enjoy being, kind of in the thick of it with my team because I don't know, it's just my personality, right? So
Right.
I think
You're not
again,
trying to optimize for less time in the business because it's part of your purpose. You enjoy it.
yeah, I
Right.
mean, it's like,
Yeah.
what am I supposed to be doing? Just sitting on the beach somewhere and like doing nothing? That doesn't serve me. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Like I want to go out and help folks. So um, I will never retire because I just feel like I would go so downhill
Yeah.
not helping
Yeah.
people, right? I mean, I've got a
Right.
purpose, man. I've got a vision, and I can't help people if I'm sitting on the beach, like feeling how great I am. Like that's just not where it is for me, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's wrap it up with a few PPC questions, and we'll call it a day. You have a very efficient company. It's run well, obviously, and a lot of our other clients also have efficient companies. And I think one of the big factors of efficiency is lead quality, right? Like your salesperson is you said you don't do cold calling and stuff. Like you had to churn through and spend a lot of time with a bunch of
Yeah,
crappy leads, and
yeah,
it's draining.
yeah.
But if you focus on inbound marketing, the leads you're getting are higher quality, your close rate is going to be higher, your salesperson's time is used up better.
Right.
It's just easier to manage operationally when you're focused on high quality versus quantity.
Yep.
So can you talk a little bit about, maybe before, you've been working with us for a long time, but if you can remember, did you have any other prior experiences with pay-per-click marketing before you worked with us, or even people reaching out to you, or just any
Yeah.
other experiences in general?
Yeah, I tried. I mean, and with every lead channel that we have, we've done, like with TV, for instance, we've done many different TV stations with YouTube or direct mail or Instagram marketing or Facebook marketing. Like we've tried lots of different marketing uh, organizations. And the same thing with
Yeah.
pay-per-click before we landed with you, Tim. Like I had tried several other companies and it didn't work out. And so we had I think you guys were probably our last ditch effort as to like, man, we'll try one more company because I didn't want to spend the time figuring out the PPC side of things. I just didn't have the time to do it. I needed to be running my business. And luckily enough, praise God for it, that you guys were knowledgeable enough, you knew what you were doing. And, it was just from there, we knew once the results started coming in, the PPC was performing optimally, and it was a very consistent part of our business, we thought, okay, this is great. We're just gonna put it on autopilot. And I mean, I'm probably one of your most hands-off clients because I don't even like when y'all do the check-ins on the quarterly check-ins and stuff like that, or the monthly check-ins. I don't even, I'm just like, y'all are doing your thing. Great job.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to report. So for me, it's just a set it and forget it type of thing. Like I don't worry about it because I know y'all are doing what you're supposed to do for our ad campaigns. Y'all are stewarding our marketing dollars properly.
What do you think it is, the difference is? You said other companies didn't work out, but I hear that a lot. I'm just trying to get a deeper understanding of what that means. Is it lead quality? Is it experience? Like, what is it about us where you knew, hey, these guys are working when it wasn't working
The only
before?
thing because I don't know what the difference is, buddy. I can tell you the results were the difference for us, right? So it was like the other companies, we were spending the marketing dollars and we weren't getting the return for it. And, when you're spending that kind of money, which I know what we spend is probably nothing to a lot of these big marketers, but I think our Google spend is probably between 5,000 to $7,500 a month, somewhere in there.
Hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and then, you've got the cost for you guys to manage it on top of that. I mean, that can add up, right? And so when you're spending that kind of money with a different firm and you get like a lead here or there, that just doesn't cut it, right? Because you're going to have a negative return on your ad spend. And so, I mean, you guys very early on, we started having good results with it. And so for us, it was just like a no-brainer. And again, like I'm one of these type of people, if something's broke, uh, I don't care to stay with it. But if it's not broke, I don't want to try to, fix that. So, you guys have been stewarding our ad dollars well. And I just I don't want to break away from that because it's been a consistent lead generation source for us.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the last questions here. I appreciate the words. A lot of people that are listening to this video are going to be leads who know they want to do pay per click. Maybe they've heard a guru talk about it, or their friends doing well with it, or whatever, and they're trying to figure out um, who to hire, or maybe they should do it themselves. They're
Sure.
like, I want to do it, but like a lot of the leads we talk to, they're nervous because it's not cheap, right? It's not cheap, and oftentimes there's a lot of indecision of like, I want to do it, but like, how much budget should I spend? And
Yep.
I got the fees on top of it. I don't want to get burned.
Yep.
Everybody knows someone who's got burned by a PPC
Sure.
company.
Sure.
And obviously, like we have this video here, but like a bunch of companies have a lot of videos
Of
about how
course.
amazing everybody is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you just would try to distill for me at like the simplest level somebody's how you think someone should go about the decision making, like when they're talking to a PPC company, like how to know, should they even take the risk, should they even bother doing it,
Yep.
who they should go with, and how they can mitigate the risk as best they can, maybe if they sign up with someone and it doesn't work out. Can you
Yeah, the first
talk
thing I
through
would
that a little
say
bit?
is they need to know that they're good at closing. That's the first thing because they don't have any business spending any marketing dollars, whether it's with PPC or anything else, if they can't close a lead when it comes in. That's the first thing because I think sometimes people blame their inability to close a lead on whatever the marketing channel is. The marketing channel's goal is to drive phone calls or web form fill outs to your business. And then our job is to convert that into a closed transaction. And so the first thing I would say is make sure you can close deals consistently before you go spend a bunch of money on marketing. Prove that concept first. Then next is anytime I onboard a new marketing strategy, and I've done over the years, I mean, that's what I am. I'm a marketer. I may not be the one behind the curtain pushing the buttons and pulling the levers, but like I have to make the decisions on how much marketing dollars are going to what channel. I've got to try all the different channels. The big thing I do is I
Mm-hmm.
split test. So anytime with marketing, like when I started PPC with you guys, I said, here's the budget that I know that I can afford for 3 months. I've got a 90-day runway with this money. So let's say if I had $10,000 stashed away and I knew that I could spend $10,000 for marketing over the next 3 months. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right, how much is it going to cost for Tim to manage my campaign? Let me subtract that out of the $10,000 for that 3 months. And then the rest of that, I'm going to break that down into monthly cycles. And this is how much I can spend every single month. And I give everything, personally, I give it everything a 90-day runway to see, does this look viable? Usually within 90 days, I can see if something's going to work or not. Now with PPC, I mean, it might take a bit longer for things to get traction. Sometimes it can take longer, but I mean, within 3 months, you should be getting some idea of how good the lead quality is. So then I would say they need to break their budget up into that 3 month bite, and then they can reevaluate. Because most of the time, I think people they look at it as money that they don't have, but they need to take the money that they do have, that they know they can spend, and it's almost like just act like you're investing that money in the stock market or something where you can't touch it for 3 months. Just put it there and say, okay, this is a set it and forget it. I don't have the ability to press the stop button until 3 months hits. I just killed a direct mail campaign because after 3 months, it just wasn't performing. We got like one deal in 3 months, but in that 3 month time span, we spent, I don't know, it was like 20 grand, something like that. No, it was
Yeah.
about 4 months. And I'm like, man, the return on investment just wasn't there. The one deal, if I extrapolate that out over 12 months, I'm going to get
Right.
4 deals in 12 months out of that ad spend. It's just not going to work. So that's the way I would tell people to evaluate it. Don't be scared to spend the money because you have to market. If you don't market, people are not going to know that you exist. But just don't go crazy with your marketing and spend money that you don't have. That's the other thing, right? Find out what your budget is, break that up into a 3 month cycle, and then work it from there. And then if you see it working, reinvest that money. Don't go spend it. Reinvest that money back into your campaign. If you could only afford $2,000 a month on ad spend, and now you've got a couple of deals in, bump that up to 5 grand a month on ad spend. So, you know, your whole business is predicated on being able to get consistent leads into your pipeline and then converting those over. So you got to spend money on leads.
Let's take it a step further, because there's a lot of people out there. I know pay-per-click, like we know that the traits that this system is good for and not good for.
Right.
And I think people do get scared and apprehensive about it, and they feel it's very risky. And there's a lot of bad actors in any type of marketing
Sure.
channel or vendors out there.
Of course.
Is there any way? So you say 3 months marketing budget. Can we even reduce the risk any further? Of like, okay, what is the minimum spend, or is there a way you could tell? Because you said you get a feel for if it's working. Is there a way to get a feel, like kind of like objective rules after 30 days? I know if blah 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 happens, I should cut it off and not even risk 3 months of budget.
Yeah,
Or do
that's a
you
great
feel
question,
that's
man. For
maybe
for
not
me,
serving
I
that?
think 30 days on any marketing channel is not enough for me to determine whether it's working yet or not. Because there's ramp up time with any campaign, whether that's TV or PPC or SEO or whatever. There's just a ramp up time. So for me, like maybe there's a better answer out there, but I'm just telling you what works for my business. That 3 months really is the runway for me to determine whether or not something is viable. It's kind of the way I look at it is like this. If I start taking a new supplement, I can't take that supplement just for 30 days and say, oh man, I didn't magically get healed. I got to stop taking it. Now, if you're having negative side effects, let's say that your phone's not ringing at all, like you haven't had one single phone call in that 30-day time frame, then yeah, I would probably have a talk with Tim and say, hey Tim, I haven't had a single phone call in 30 days with my ad spend. Like, can we
Mm-hmm.
do something here? But if your phone is ringing and you just haven't like actually locked that deal down yet, just keep up the ad spend, man. Like the main thing is the big parameter that I'm looking at is the phone ringing. Are the lead forms being filled out? And if the answer to that is yes, then the marketing keeps going.
Gotcha. Even if they don't have a deal closed within 90 days, it's not about that
That's
necessarily.
right.
It's the lead quality, you're
It's the
saying?
Yes. Yeah, it's not about closing the deal. It's about, is the phone ringing and are you getting web forms filled out and are you building a pipeline? Because if you see that your pipeline is starting to fill up with stuff, it might not have closed yet, but if you've got somebody on a contract that says, "Hey, I want to sell you my house for 150,000," and you know for sure you can assign that contract for 160, 170, 180,000 dollars, then why would you turn that off? Right?
Sure,
So
sure.
it's really
Right.
just the metric that I'm looking at. Is there an effect into my pipeline? Is just like a supplement? Is that boosting the health of the body of my business?
Right.
And if it is, then let's keep going with that and keep trying it out. Now, if I see that something stagnates or maybe all of a sudden the calls fall off of a cliff, then I've got to have a call and say, hey, I don't know what happened here, but all of a sudden the calls just went, down to nothing.
Gotcha.
But 3 months
Gotcha.
is my window. So whatever your dollar amount is that you can afford, just break that up into monthly segments for 3 months. And that way you're spending that amount, whether you're doing it in 1 month or 3 months. Um, you know,
Would you say if someone doesn't get even a contract in 90 days, then that would automatically disqualify the PPC campaign, or are there other leading indicators?
I mean, again, that's where the sales process really they need to know before they spend any money. Like, I think you've got to prove concept to yourself that you're a good salesperson first and foremost. And the only way to do
Sure.
that is if you have been door knocking or cold calling or sending SMS or doing something, and you've got a proof of concept. But don't go in without having prior sales experience and thinking that, well, the phone's ringing, but these just haven't turned into leads. Again, the main focus for me is my phone ringing and are web forms being filled out? Because if that's the case, I may have a lead conversion problem. It may not be the lead
Right.
itself. It may be the fact that my sales team is just having an off month, and I got to pep my sales team up, um, or I might need to jump on the phones myself. So if the phone's ringing and the web forms are being filled out, that's the metric that I'm looking at, because that means that the campaign is working. I just have to now work the leads that come in.
Do you think that somebody should spend the bare minimum budget over that first 90-day trial period? Because you could spend 10 grand a
Right.
month for 90 days or 2 grand a month,
Yeah.
or 1 grand.
That's a great question. And that's something that I don't really have the answer to. All I did was I found out what my comfortability level was. And I said, hey,
Yeah.
this is what I'm comfortable with risking on beta testing to see if this is going to work. And everybody's number is going to be different, right? Because everybody's financial
Mm-hmm.
situation is different. But I knew, I was like, I think when I started, I might have started at like 3 grand a month or something. I don't know. It's been a long time. But I
Yeah.
think in my mind, I was just like, hey, I can spend 3 grand a month for 3 months, plus my cost to have you guys manage the campaign. And that's where I know that I'm okay with like testing. And if it doesn't work, then that super sucks. I just lost all that money, but I tried. And that's kind of in my mind of what I worked it out to be. And I think everybody's number is going to be different. They have to kind of work
Mm-hmm.
out financially what's going to work. I'm not an advocate personally of people going into debt on credit cards and stuff to do marketing.
Right.
I know some gurus teach that. I think that is extremely unwise. And I think that we need to be good stewards of our financial situation. And so with any outbound lead source, outbound is more expensive than inbound. It's just how it works, because inbound is much better quality lead source.
Right. Right.
So knowing that inbound is the most expensive lead source, you don't want to do inbound leads until you know that you can afford to do it. That's just my personal opinion. I run my business with
Right.
zero debt. I have no company debt. Everything we own is paid off, and we operate with knowing that I have to be a good financial steward of what the Lord has given me, because if I don't, then I'm the one that's going to be held accountable for that. And
Mm.
so I would tell people first and foremost, like, make some money by door knocking, cold calling, sending out, maybe a few flyers that don't cost a lot of money, just doing those low cost things. And then once they've built up a little bit of budget, then go ahead and start doing something like PPC. I think PPC is a really phenomenal way. TV commercial is like super expensive and more risky in my opinion. PPC is kind of, both PPC and pay per lead are more of those lower barrier of entry, because you don't have to spend a fortune on it to have some good results.
Yeah. You don't have to risk a lot of money to realize it doesn't work.
That's
TV,
right.
maybe you got to risk a little bit more.
That's right.
Yeah. Last question here, man. This has been amazing. You're a really unique investor. I love your perspective on life. Is there anything else that maybe I didn't ask you, or that anything that you want to share to the audience, knowing that the audience are not beginners? It's people maybe a step or two kind of below where you're at. They're doing a few deals a month. Maybe they're solo. Maybe they got somebody. Just anything at all that you have left to share before we wrap up here?
Yeah, I think, man, one thing I would share is this. Don't compare yourself to what the next guy or girl is doing. I think that's so deleterious to your mental ability to thrive. When you compare yourself to somebody else's journey and their business, I don't think you're doing yourself any favors. Um, Ask God what your purpose is and what your plan is, because if you're living outside of that, you're going to be stressed. Um, your business is not going to thrive. Next thing I would say is don't run on a deficit if you can help it. Um, don't take out tons of debt. Only take out, if you're going to take out debt that's manageable. Don't get yourself upside down to the point where you can't sleep at night. That's just not a good place to be. Um, and then lastly, it's okay to be realistic with yourself. And like for us, I was telling you before we started this, this is our slowest year in business since we've started real estate. And that's at no fault to PPC or SEO or TV commercials or direct mail or any of that. It's just based on where the market is right now. And that's okay. I'm totally okay with that because there's nothing I can do to control that aspect of the business. All I can do is continue to put our message out there and keep putting marketing out there, and then the calls will eventually come in, right? And so, like like I told you, we're at about half for the year of where we have been year over year, every year before this. But I'm not stressing it because I don't have debt in my business. All of our rentals, except for like two or three, are paid for, and we have rental income coming in. So the other thing I would tell people is if you're wholesaling primarily or if you're flipping primarily, you need to have money starting to go over to buy rental properties, so you can have another source of income coming in that is going to be working even when you're not. Because the reality is, like my wife and I, we're building a house in Texas right now. I am taking more of a step back from the business so I can manage the build of my house because I'm the one I'm an owner builder on this situation. So that takes a lot of effort and energy. It's almost like a full-time job in and of itself. And I'm not stressing about it because number one, I know that God's got my back, but number two, I've already counted the cost of these things and I've got income coming in besides just what my active income is, right? So those are a couple things I think that, sometimes we're scared to admit because we want to compare ourselves with other people. If our business is not doing what it has been, that's okay. Business has seasons just like anything else does. And this is just the season. Stay with it. You'll weather the storm and then you'll come out. Just don't get yourself in a bad financial situation while you're trying to weather the storm. You may, in your quiet time, you may pray about it and find out that God's telling you, hey, you just need to cut marketing right now completely. Just turn it off, wait it out, and then once the market picks up, go back with it. Or it may look scary, and you may, in your quiet time, feel like God's telling you, hey, I want you to go ahead and double down on what you're doing. And it may not make any sense in your head, but if you know that you know that you know that's what you're hearing, then you do that. Because again, you've got to know that there's a bigger purpose in things than just what you control and your narrative. And so those are a couple of the guiding principles that I look at with my business, and we've had great success. And it's not just because I'm so amazing, man. It's because God's taken great, great care of us over the years. And I just try to keep in tune with what He's telling me. Not that I'm hearing voices out of the sky or anything, but just in my quiet time, in my prayer closet, like what is the Lord telling my heart? Because that's how I'll lead my family in all of our decisions. So all of us, every day we wake up and we have to move the needle in our business somehow. And so that can be pretty pressure sensitive and stressful if we're not careful. So I think sometimes we just need to evaluate what is the big thing that I'm supposed to do today, and not try to focus on too much at one time. And if the sales aren't coming in, just focus on getting the sales in. Don't focus on everything else. Just make the calls, do whatever you got to do to maybe push your team, because sometimes team morale gets down. And like I said earlier, maybe you have to jump on the phone with your sales guys and say, hey, watch me make some calls. Let's get that juice back flowing. And we did that recently, and August picked up huge for us. We've got one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. We got 7 deals closed in August, right? So August picked up big time for us because I got in with my team and I was like, hey, let's sit down. I'm going to make some calls. You're going to make some calls. Let's ramp this thing back up. So August was a very good, well over 6-figure month for us. So
Yeah.
things can pick up that fast. You just kind of have to make an adjustment.
Weather the storm. I
That's
love
right.
it. Yeah.
That's right.
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate all the wisdom you've shared on this call today.
Of course, buddy.
Appreciate you being such a long time client. And yeah, let's do another 5 years, man. Let's
Let's
make
do
it
it.
10, baby.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited. There's
Yeah.
nowhere to go from here but up, man. I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. All right. Take care, man.
All right,
Thank you
buddy.
again.
Have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye bye.